Hi guys, I'm really excited to talk about the next level of e-commerce tracking GA4 with GTM. First of all, I want to apologize for my not perfect English, but I'll do my best. A little presentation about me. I'm Matteo Zambon, founder of Tag Manager Italia, and I'm really honored to be an official beta tester of GTM. Last year I was nominated for the Digital Analytics Association's Quantities Award for Best as a Practitioner. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter or in LinkedIn. What we will see, Google Analytics 4 recap, very quickly, measurement events in GA4, the simplified conversion tracking system, enhance e-commerce in Universal Analytics, e-commerce in GA4, how to set up e-commerce tracking in GA4, and how to move from Universal Analytics to GA4 the smart way. So, a quickly recap for GA4. It is a new property available to all analytics users. You can take advantage of the GTag library already installed to take advantage of the new property, or you can use, of course, GTM.
Sorry, Matteo, are you sharing slides yet?
You
need to go to share screen at the bottom, because at the moment we can see you talking.
No. Okay.
And then you unshared. So if you want to share that back up, we'll be able to see.
Hopla. No problem, because I just I will share the screenshot, the slide after the speech. So this is what we will see. This is the GA recap, a new property. And my tips for GA4 is use GA4 parallel tracking with Universal Analytics. So you can create a universal property with advanced options. You have to check and enable the flag to see before create the Universal Analytics. The new data model is really flexible. All hits are only event based. And so you have to be careful how to use them and which scope to use. Okay, let's see about measurement events. I will speak very quickly about measurement events. There are 4 measurement categories automatic with the enhanced measurement: recommended events and custom. Automatically collected events are all events triggered by basic interaction by default from GA4. The enhanced measurement, maybe it's the most interesting measurement, because GA4 can collect a specific user engagement like scroll, outbound links, site search, video engagement, and file downloads. If you want more information about the enhanced measurement, I suggest Julius' guide. I don't know if he's here, but hi, Julius. Recommended events are suggested by Google itself with a specific structure. In this presentation, we will focus on retail, of course, e-commerce. Everything else can be done with the custom event. In GTM, we can use GA4 event tag. You must have a measurement plan before setting up your tracking. If you don't want to be in trouble, I really suggest you have a measurement plan before tracking with GA4. But please keep in mind you have these limits. 500 event types, 25 parameters for event, 25 user properties, 50 custom dimensions and metrics. And limits are applied for a single property and not for the data stream. We take a look at the simplified conversion tracking system in GA4. In GA4, make a conversion is really simple. Just go to all events menu and enable the name of the event you want to convert for. These are the automatic conversion events in GA4. And of course, we have the purchase event, so you cannot disable this type of conversion. You can also create a new conversion event. To do this, just input the new event name, and to see the conversion in GA4, you have to wait 24 hours. You can also create conversions directly on the GA4 by editing events, and this is a really amazing feature. For example, you have order received as a custom GTM events. You can make a conversion directly in GA4 without setting up the tracking with GTM. Just to create a new event with some matching conditions. For example, event names equals page view, and page location contains order received. When you did the configuration, there will create a new event order received. And if you have enabled before, after 20 hours, you can see the number of conversions. Okay, let's go to deep to enhance e-commerce in Universal Analytics. Probably, as you know, we have a specific structure for all the actions that enhance e-commerce can collect, like product impressions, product clicks, product details, add and remove from cart, promotion impression and clicks, checkout, purchase, and refund. Let's do it together. So see a simple demo to understand this type of tracking. Can you see my my tab? I hope I hope so. So we have a GTM with a very super smart configuration for the Universal Analytics. Just one tag, just one triggers to collect every single action. The magic tricks, it's about the events. So if we have all action by custom events, we can just create a single specific triggers with user regex matching, and use the lookup table variable for actions, label, and value. And I can show you, for example, the action ASC. Okay, this is the variable for the lookup table is ASC event action. Okay, ASC event action. So this is the example of one of the lookup table. So it's based on input variable event, and so you can output the right action or the right label. So I already create the configuration, so I can see the, for example, the impression product, because we have a specific push in data layer with the impression, and so my enhanced e-commerce event can be collect all values of the enhanced e-commerce. If I add to cart, for example, of course I can see the add to cart with the same tag, but in this time we have the add to cart, and this is the ID of my product. If I go to the checkout, just put some OK, and I choose, for example, a payment, and I go to payment. All events use the same tag. So this is the very smart way to set up the enhanced e-commerce configuration. And of course, in our Universal Analytics, we have all the events. So this is the very smart way. But the magic tricks again is you need to use the custom events, and this is very interesting because GA4 use only events. So if you have this, you are already you can already use in the GA4 configuration. Okay, now go deep with the new e-commerce tracking in GA4. We have a different schema of actions that the GA4 can collect. And we have some different official guides about to track e-commerce in GA4. But sometimes the official guides are wrong. And I suggest to be careful. For example, in the guide of measurement protocol of GA4, the quantity parameter is missing. And in GTM guide, the quantity is present. So I suggest that you send feedback to the Google Analytics team when you see some incorrect or partial information. For example, now the parameter is fixed. And now we see how to set up e-commerce tracking GA4 with GTM. Simo has created an amazing guide step by step. It is very useful if you want to understand every single action about e-commerce in GA4. But once you have acquired this knowledge, you can optimize the configuration, like the Universal Analytics. How we can optimize the tracking? We can do it thanks to custom templates in GTM. I show you an optimization tracking with GTM. So go back with another instance of my GTM. I need to change the GTM in my website. Okay. Okay. And this is the GA4 configuration. I use, of course, the GA4 tag configuration to input the stream. Okay. And I use, of course, the GA4 event for all action in GA4. In this case, I use a custom templates variable that I already create to catch all information in GA4. This is the official Google Tag Manager guides. For example, if I want to check the impression item list, just copy this schema. I put the debug mode. Okay. Okay, now I have this configuration for GA4, and the amazing things is in GTM I can debug the hit details of Google Analytics 4, so I can see all parameters on the measurement protocol. So this is very helpful to debug if all parameters are affecting post in GA4. Okay, so I push directly in data layer because this is the plugin doesn't support the schema of GA4 yet. So I push the view items list. So This is the custom event, but if I go to debug in GA4, I can see the name of the hit of in GA4, so I can debug all e-commerce events. Of course, I can see, maybe I need to refresh, and I can see all events in GA4. This is another amazing configuration, because with this name, this variable, GA event name, this is the custom variable. Maybe for detail I can show you in a separate way, because I have not enough time to explain all. But this is the new items, the new object for GA4. If we go to the measurement protocol analytics GA4, the array now is item, is not the product. So the object is ecommerce.items. In the items we have all information about the products. So again, we go to here, and just to simulate, for example, add to cart. So I push the add to cart, and I see this is the push on the data layer, and this is the hits on GA4. And if we have the purchase events, here we are. We have the of course the hit in Google Analytics 4. Be careful about some things, parameters in GA4, because there is a very different schema. Indeed, add payment info is an event that explains that this specific configuration. We have the payment type outside the items object. So this is an optional parameters, but if you want to track in GA4, unfortunately you need to create a specific tag, because this is the parameter is outside the item. So for every single event, to create another tags in Enhance Ecommerce. I cannot create a single tags in GA4. Of course, we have here in the real time, maybe I hope so. We have in the real time the events. Okay, maybe we are. Okay, never mind. We go to the slide again, because I have to show the move, how to move from Universal Analytics to GA4. We will show how to track the GA4 with the Google Analytics structure. But now we know that all is not ready to push the GA4 structure in the data layer. But all e-commerce probably have already the Universal Analytics data layer structure. In this table, we have all actions dedicated to e-commerce tracking in Universal Analytics and in GA4. In green, we have the actions that has a full correspondence from Universal Analytics to GA4. In yellow, there is the checkout actions that has a partial correspondence from Universal Analytics to GA4. GA4 actually needs a new specific action for the checkout step. For example, begin checkout, add the shipping info, and so on. In red, we have the action that have no correspondence from Universal Analytics to GA4. If we know the structure of e-commerce data layer object, then we can automate the tracking thanks to my custom templates in GTM. In detail, I already create a guide step by step to use the e-commerce data layer object for GA4. Okay, let's go together with this last demo. I need to change again the GTM tag. Okay, and go to preview mode. So in this case, I use the currently schema in the push of data layer for Universal Analytics, and with my custom variable, I rebuild completely the structure from Universal and switch to GA4. So we have the push on data layer with the old schema, the universal schema, but in this case I use I can show you. So this is the GA for items. This is my custom variable, and I already convert the schema from universal to GA4. So I can add to cart, and what I see is the custom events in Universal Analytics, but if I switch to Analytics 4, I can see the add to cart for GA4 because my variable rebuild the answer e-commerce. And so all is done, because just to go to payment and try a transaction, and of course I can see all information for payment info. The schema, I don't create a specific event tag for add payment info, and if it's a specific event, but I use the global event that track all actions. Of course, I don't have the payment type information. If you want to track the event payment type, you need to create a specific event in GA4 and put the parameters here. And of course, you need to create a specific trigger for add payment info. The purchase is have a completely different schema, because the items is outside from is nested in the e-commerce. So if we go to this guide, okay, we can see we have the e-commerce object, the purchase object, and the items. In other events, we have e-commerce and items. So the data layer need to go down to purchase to be set. So this is all information. So we have, of course, the purchase. And we have here we are. We have the events in my Google Analytics 4. The suggest is always check the parameters on the hit to debug. It no matters if the tag is fired, but watch every time the hit details and parameters. Okay, so the last things. Let's check some traps, mistakes, and bugs. The first is to be careful about the nested e-commerce object in purchase events. My custom template handle already this exception, so my variable is smart and understand when there is the purchase. So go to nested and one not do this. The second is the currency code parameters in It must be included in purchase events. If it is missed, the revenue in GA4 will be 0. It's a bug, but be careful about this because it's very, very important. For the bug, you have to check the parameters on the GA4 debug in GTM. Check if all purchase parameters are correct. If they're missing, something is wrong.
5 minutes there, Matteo. 5 minutes. So we got some Q&A. So if
okay, I just choose slide. I really hope that in the future GA4 integrated tag management will come just like Universal Analytics. Built-in settings to handle the e-commerce GA4 object in data layer, so you don't need to create specific variables, custom templates, and tags in GA4 because a single tag can be used automatically the e-commerce object. This is my hope. My last word: use Tag Manager and Google Tag Manager Analytics 4 wisely. Okay.
Top job. Okay, cool. So I'll go through the Q&A. We've got 5 minutes. I should be able to answer some of these. It's a bit of a theme. Would you recommend adding the UA data layer schema, so the current Universal Analytics one, or the GA4 schema? When do you think GA4 would mature to replace Google Analytics? Okay. And if you're starting now, how would you approach it? Because
at the moment, I create this variable, so you don't need to replace with the new schema. But if you want to do this, you will be able in the future to do this. So for now, for me, it doesn't matter because, for example, my custom variable it's do this. So, but for me, it's not a priority for now.
Okay, because people are kind of saying, look, if the GA4 is here, but we can't use it fully yet. If you were starting with a client, would you advise to, I mean, you start at the beginning saying run them both together, GA4 and Universal Analytics together. When do you think Universal Analytics would be deprecated and GA4 with the one you'd start with?
We have the classic Universal in the other website, in some websites. So I think maybe 4 or 5 years the people use only GA4, but in my opinion, 4 or 5 years we need to go only for the GA4. But the Universal, I think never die. We never die like that.
I still see sites with Urchin on nowadays. It's like I think we've got a bit of time to wait, but we're not quite there yet. And then Tess has asked, have you tried creating a custom event in the GA interface using the purchase event? I've tried it and it doesn't seem to work. If I use page view events, it's fine.
Yeah, creating a custom event. Yeah. I already like a conversion purchase. I never tried because if I have already the purchase in Universal Analytics, I a new schema to rebuild with a custom JavaScript. But you can, I think you can do this, but the purchase needs some parameters. So you have to be sure that you put all parameters. If you go to the measurement protocol guides and check out all the parameters information to the event purchase, there is optional, but there is a lot of bug about this, and so you have to use all parameters for the purchase. So I don't know if you, yeah, maybe yes, you can replace with create a new modify events in GA4, but you need to put all parameters for the purchase events. So in my opinion, maybe it could be more strong to be with GTM and rebuild with the customer.
Okay, and then we've got a question from Khan. How can you add custom product scope, custom dimension in GA4?
Sorry, how can I add a custom product scope with? There is product scope. This is a very interesting. There is a not product scope at the moment. If I go to the slide, I can see in the first slide the scope. There is no scope. No, e-commerce parameters. Oh, of course, e-commerce parameters is the. If I go to the slide, I can see the product scope is the e-commerce parameter. So if you need to create a new elements, new parameters for products, you need to you can do it with custom parameters. So the guide show you what is the parameter that for that events, for example, for the purchase. But if you want to add more but your custom parameters, and you can do it with the parameters. So the answer is use the parameters in the event.
Yeah, it's a very different. I mean, we've kind of moving from a session-based thing with events to a hit-based logic. So each hit therefore needs the kind of the filter, qualification, extra detail within the parameter scope. And this is why the measurement thing you started out saying, you need to plan your measurement plan because you do have limited slots to use across the property, and therefore planning what you're going to use it for is more important, whereas before Google took care of it, and if you chose to be advanced you could add it to the side. Now the whole thing's based on that logic, so it's a bit of a gear shift. I'm playing my first implementations at the moment,
and be careful about the limits. 500 types of events for the property. So if you have a multiple data streams, be careful because the limits are for the property.
Cool. All right. Well, we're out of time, but thank you very much, Matteo. It's good to see you.
Sorry for my not perfect English, but
hey, look, it's better than my Italian. Better than my Italian. Like, I'm sure more people understood your talk than when I did the same when I was in Bologna doing the AdWorld one, where they had to have live translators to try and explain my nonsense.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Matteo.
you.
I'll be around all day, so if you see him on a table, go annoy him with questions there. It's a lunch break now, and I think we come back at, hold on a second, next session starts at 2 o'clock. So if everyone's going to grab some lunch, we'll all see you later on. Bye bye.
See you.